Welcome to Not the 9 to 5,
the podcast for freelancers
by freelancers.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out,
join us as we share insights, tips and stories
to help you thrive in the world of independent work.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Francesca.
We are two freelancers exploring the highs, lows
and everything in between. So grab your coffee, kick back,
and let's dive into another episode of Not the 9 to 5.
Katheryn Siggers.
Francesca Marago.
How are you?
I'm very well. How's yourself?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Tell me, who have we got today?
Well, today we have a very special guest. His name is Bukki. He served as UK country manager and is now international expansion leader at Fiverr, an amazing freelance platform. He studied at the Imperial College London, and after he graduated, he started his career as a strategy consultant, advising multi-billion-dollar businesses on strategic projects such as profit growth.
Cool.
He then moved on to leading growth initiatives and raising investment at startups before joining Fiverr. Bukki, welcome.
Thank you. That's a better intro. You know more about me than I know about myself. What an intro. Thank you.
Well, we're just psychic. We just
That's it.
Amazing.
So tell us, how did you kind of get into what you're doing right now?
I am an employee at Fiverr, but we support freelancers, of course, through the platform. I do freelance on the side, helping businesses with their growth strategy, as well as their business goals. So I can talk about how I kind of came to this point in my career where I've got this full-time role, but also freelancing on the side. So I started off, after studying chemical engineering, I started off as a management consultant and strategy consultant within a boutique consultancy providing advisory services to multinational institutions and businesses and governments. And after doing that for a while, I decided I wanted to go into kind of startups and scale-ups to not just advise, but also to enable that growth and execute on the growth and marketing and strategy initiatives. So did that for a while until eventually I came across Fiverr in a growth manager role. So I started off focused on growing the business within the UK. So that's strategy initiatives, marketing initiatives, strategic partnerships, and the like. And then that transitioned into a country manager role, which was a bit more, I guess you could say, holistic about trying to build the business. And now I'm in this international expansion role. So really not just focus on the UK, although that's a big part of what I do, but trying to find new avenues to grow Fiverr, the freelancer base, as well as the business side who buy freelancer services across the globe. So that's kind of career today. Yeah.
That's super cool. I mean, have you always been interested in sort of doing a role like that and kind of helping businesses grow strategically?
Yeah, for sure. I think growing up, I always said I wanted to do something in business, but as a kid, I didn't really know what I meant by business, and adults who spoke to me didn't really challenge what I meant. They just let me dream a little bit. But ended up going into to study chemical engineering because I was good at chemistry, good at maths, and I was encouraged to study a profession first. And thought, you know what, let me come to London to Imperial College, kind of the heart of business within the UK, and see if I can figure out what exactly I mean by business. And that's how I came across management consulting, where you can kind of get an insight into how different businesses work without being in the business, which was great because I learned a lot about business and analysis and developing insights. But after a while there, I thought it was the right time to try and apply that in context, in situ within businesses. So that's been the journey.
That's incredible. I mean, so we're creatives, like we have businesses, but we're not, I don't know, like we don't know as much about business as yourself, of course. So tell us kind of what is your role within Fiverr? Like, how do you help them grow? What do you do on kind of like a day-to-day basis?
Well, when I was the country manager, which was not too long ago, I've only recently got this international role, so I can talk a bit more about that. It would be anything from campaigns with influential individuals, for example, Stephen Bartlett. We created a long-term partnership with him to try and really evolve, because there are three main things that I was trying to do, which was raise awareness of the brand, evolve perception of Fiverr, and then ultimately drive high quality growth for the business. And so we do that by liaising and associating the business with people who are really, really well known, really well liked, such as Stephen Bartlett and other influencers, and then also aligning with strategic partners like Virgin Startup, who have a core audience that's very similar to ours of business owners, entrepreneurs, and freelancers as well. So setting up strategic partnerships was pretty important. And then working with the different teams within marketing and a bit of product to see how we can improve certain KPIs like conversion rates and the average selling price, lifetime value through a bunch of different initiatives like affiliate mechanisms or PPC or TV as well. So it's a bunch of different things. But yeah, that was how I tried to.
I was just going to say,
drive
what's PPC? What is that?
Oh, pay per click. Sorry, look at me throwing around acronyms without explaining myself.
I was
Pay per
like,
click.
what?
So, yeah, those who are running like Google ads and Facebook ads, all those things. Usually you scroll past, but when you show it to a large enough people, you'll have a small percentage that click and will come through to our website.
And you pay per the click.
There you go.
One would
Pay
assume.
per the click. Yes,
There
correct.
we go.
correct.
There we go.
Got you.
There we go.
We were going to say we use Fiverr. We're on the platform. We do it for voice work. So you've been on it longer than I have.
Yeah, I've been on it for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I like at the moment I'm getting work kind of every day through Fiverr, which is quite nice.
Wow.
I would like more, I think, but I think the for me it's the Fiverr algorithms that keep on changing, and there's like the success score and all stuff like that. That's completely changed in the last like couple of months, and I'm kind of like a bit lost on how to improve my score on the platform now, to be honest with you. But it has been very, very good in times of like where I've had like not much other work. It's been good in terms of like just giving me that little bit of extra income on the side, for sure.
I suppose for people who are listening who don't know about Fiverr and might want to join Fiverr and make a gig, how does the system work in terms of, like you said, the algorithm changes and it's all about ratings and things like that. So if you're starting out, what's the best strategy to try and get more work, I suppose, on Fiverr?
Right. So it has changed quite a lot, and I definitely get where you're coming from, because it's changed so much from where it started, where we were just kind of focused on $5 gigs, to now you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, thousands of pounds on the platform. You can find really high quality freelancers such as yourselves on that platform. So we are constantly trying to tweak the algorithm, because the most complicated part of Fiverr, there are many, many parts of it, but one of the most complicated parts is really trying to facilitate that interaction between the entrepreneur, the business, and the freelancer, to make sure that they're matched at the right time, right place, as best as possible. So there are constant tweaks that we're trying to make, and we've got over 700 different types of services on the platform. So firstly, as a freelancer, is find out which of those is where your true unique selling point will have the most impact, because we've got so many different types of services, from web development to voiceover to graphic design. So find out exactly where your niche skill lies, and then it's really, really important to create the best possible portfolio, because you will get some people initially. The algorithm will always provide new freelancers with some visits from prospective buyers of your services. So it's really important to have a really, really, really favorable portfolio. So make sure it's as well written as possible. And even if you don't have a very visual, say, graphic design type of service, still try and make it as visual as possible. Showcase all the clients you've worked with previously that are really, really going to make buyers more likely to want to work with you. And if you don't have any previous clients, because I do get this question from those who are just starting out, just try and show anything that you've worked on before, that you can kind of highlight your skill and your potential, and then optimize your pricing according to kind of your experience, and play around with things. And fingers crossed, you should get some initial good traffic that comes through.
Hopefully.
Is it also about, I guess your bio has to be as detailed but also concise as possible for buyers, but is keywords important in the system? Like, does the system pick up on keywords to then connect you with potential buyers?
Yes, it does. It does. So it's important to put the right kind of keywords for whatever service you're providing. So you could be doing website development, but if you are an expert with WordPress, and you can also do things with Shopify stores, like try and put these certain keywords, because buyers
Right.
might not really search for your exact title. They might search for things adjacent to it. So yeah, definitely try and throw in as many of those as possible.
Okay, cool.
Brilliant.
That's good to know.
Definitely good
I'm
to
gonna
know.
do that.
So let's move away from Fiverr for a minute and tell us about your freelancing career.
Sure. My freelancing career has been it's been pretty interesting. I get to help small businesses to grow their revenue, optimize their profitability. And it's pretty great because at Fiverr work it's a publicly traded business, so sometimes, and we do know, we've got so many people, we've got really talented people, and there are a lot of things that we know that we kind of take for granted. And then sometimes you'll speak to a small business owner, and you'll say something that maybe to me seems like common knowledge, because at work it is, my day job, it is common knowledge, but to them it's pretty profound. And so I think it was probably maybe only over the past couple of years that I realized, actually, you know what, I can add quite a lot of value to entrepreneurs, small businesses. So I'm on a couple of platforms that focused on growth and marketing and business revenue generation, like Growth Mentor and Mentor Cruise. And I've advised a couple of CEOs, entrepreneurs, and then I have a few consistent clients as well that I advise on a regular basis. And yeah, it's fun. It's always great to have value and to be considered as a knowledgeable person, by the other people. So it's great.
I suppose it's really nice to see those businesses excel as well, based on the strategies and help and support you give them. It can be quite rewarding.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, ultimately, the credit goes to them because they're the ones who actually do the work. I kind of it's almost like my consulting days. I sit there and I say, hey, you should try this. You should try this. Have you considered this? And then they go away. They'll actually do the work, and they'll come back and say, hey, this actually worked really, really well. Maybe this not so much, and this was good. So yeah, it's always pleasing to see that I'm helping them build, the businesses that they want to build. It's cool stuff.
Really cool. That's so cool.
Would you say that's your favorite part of the job, is seeing that growth?
For sure. It's definitely seeing the impact and seeing that it was worth it, because sometimes it's whatever work is, sometimes it can be a bit of a slog, and you're like, it's Monday morning, it's raining, even in the middle of June or July, beginning of July in summer, and you're like, I really don't want to get up, I really don't want to do this, I really don't want to talk to anybody right now, even my beloved. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. But you do it, you put in the work, and you then see the output later on. Yeah, that's definitely the best part. The second best part, or maybe jointly best part, is just the variety of different people that I speak to, the variety of businesses that I work with, and just the variety of ways that a business can grow. Strategic partnerships, we could be talking about one day, we could be talking about PPC, pay-per-click, another day TV ads, so it's so varied, so it's great.
Would you say no 2 days are the same for you then?
I would definitely say no 2 days are the same. So I mean, just this week I was in Berlin for an international expansion offsite. So we were planning what the back end of this year and next year might look like, which markets we want to enter. It was a fleeting trip, and then came back on Tuesday and had a kind of almost like this, but it was in person. It was like a podcast webinar that we hosted with two young budding entrepreneurs / LinkedIn influencers, voices on LinkedIn, and they were talking about their freelancing career and also how they've hired freelancers and the benefits of that. And that was recorded by an agency we work with, and then had a conversation, I think that same day, with Apple about a strategic partnership. So and that's like that week, which is this week, is different to last week. So yeah, I love that stuff. I love the variety I get to engage in.
That's so cool. And going back to the businesses that you said that you work with, what kind of businesses do you work with? Like, what type of businesses are they? Are they like film production companies? What are they?
But on a freelance basis?
Both. All of the bases.
Yeah, generally, all of the bases. So it's so it's so varied. like
Katheryn.
I've worked with the Museum of Wales, helping to curate an exhibition on a freelance basis, and then I've worked with a bathroom e-commerce business as well, and then SaaS businesses too, so software as a service. So it really varies, which again just makes it really interesting. But ultimately, a lot of the principles, there are of course certain areas that I'm definitely not an expert in. So, and there are differences between each of these industries, of course, but there are certain principles that are pretty consistent across, which is where I guess my advantage is and where I can help these businesses or institutions that I work with.
Definitely. And when you go into a business that's looking to grow, like kind of talk us through like how do you start? Like what do you do to help that growth like initially?
Absolutely. The first thing I always want to see is what have you done in the past and what has worked and hasn't worked, because I don't want to come in and give you suggestions without that context. So that's the first thing that we go through. What's worked, what hasn't worked, and why hasn't it worked? And who have you spoken to in the past and all the different things that have happened historically. And then we take stock of what are the options, what do you have at your disposal in terms of kind of budget, and in terms of people, in terms of skills, and what do you think? What are your opinions? It's always really important to get the opinion of the individual you're speaking to. One of the main reasons I found this is because you can come in and I could take stock of what's happened before, and then I can say, okay, this is what you need to do. But if you don't get buy-in from the individual you're talking to and from their stakeholders, they're not going to take that strategy on board because they haven't bought into it. They don't believe in it. They don't feel a part of it. And that's super important, that kind of feeling like ideally you want them to feel like they, you could say kind of came up with it, or that they have ownership of that strategy because it is their business and they want to feel like they own it, like just like everybody does. So that's super important. So taking stock of what they've done historically, coming up with potential suggestions, but making sure that they have that buy-in. That's the typical approach that I'll take.
And the companies that you work with, the businesses you work with, are they new? Like, do you work with brand new, fresh companies, or are they a bit more established, like sort of going for a few years and they've got some sort of growth behind them? Where do you fit in that? How do you help? Do you help basically companies who've just started? Is my question.
Usually more established, but I have spoken with on those platforms. Sometimes it's like people in the idea stage, entrepreneurs in the idea
Right.
stage that come and have conversations. Someone spoke to me about creating. It was a really interesting idea. It was kind of like creating. Have you heard of Blinkist? The kind of short form. They create short summaries of books and audiobooks so that like you don't have to listen to the whole thing. You get it in like
Like a
rather
blur.
than yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like maybe like 10 minutes. And
Right.
so I use it to, well, one, get insights from books that I don't want to read, and two, determine if I do actually want to read it as well. So so I find it quite useful. So she was basically trying to create something like that, but for scientific papers. Which are very long and boring to read. I used to have to read them in my chemical engineering days, and every now and then I'll still read a paper. And when I say read, I'll like read half of it and then get bored. So she's trying to make something to summarize those, and she was like super early stage. Had a few conversations with people, but I was able to give her a little bit of guidance on that idea.
Cool.
So obviously you'd said you historically look at like what they've done in the past. What do you do when you've got someone who is like fresh, they haven't really done anything in the past? Like, do you approach them slightly differently?
So I'll always want to understand what they've like, speak to them and understand what they have done, and it will usually be a different conversation. Often when I speak to entrepreneurs who kind of have an idea, they usually it's a case of, have you the mom test. It's a book that I read a long time ago, and it's one of the best books that I've read, particularly for entrepreneurship. And we'll talk about that book because often entrepreneurs, and what it basically talks about is this idea that if you go to your mother with a business idea, most mothers are really warm and caring. I know mine is. And you present it to her, she's like, yeah, that's a lovely idea. That's great. Well done. And then you'll go away and you'll be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's how people approach their idea. They'll go to like potential customers and say, hey, this is my idea, right? It's like, I don't know, Uber for dogs or something like that. And like, they're like, yeah, yeah, I love that. I think it's a great idea. And then they go away and they build this whole thing, and then they come back and they say, hey, okay, I've made it, do you want to buy it? And they're like, no, 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 I don't think I want to put my money where my mouth is. So what the book says is, instead of doing that, what you should do is you should understand what their problem is and understand if that person has actually gone out and sought a solution for that problem. And if they have, then you're actually potentially onto something. It says some other things as well, but that's like the key takeaway is like, try and solve a problem rather than just coming up with a solution. So
Right.
often I speak to entrepreneurs who haven't really done that, because you fall in love with an idea. Like I've done it before. Like I'm like, oh, this is the best idea ever. And then you go and speak to the people you want to sell it to, and they're like, well, you find out that they've never actually looked for Uber for dogs. That's probably a terrible example because there probably isn't Uber for dogs, and I'm going to look like
Maybe we
like
should
an idiot.
invent that. Maybe
But
we should do that.
I think it sounds like a good idea, to be
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
Self-publishing
It was the
Uber.
it was the worst idea I could come up with on the spot. I'm sure there are worse ideas. But edible socks. That's what I should have said. Edible socks. There.
Edible
my God,
socks.
edible
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I said that. I should have said
Quite
that.
a lovely episode,
Terrible.
literally.
Nobody's gonna buy that.
Edible socks.
Yeah.
So, in your career, have you had any struggles that you've had to kind of face and overcome, either as a freelancer or kind of in your employed role?
Oh yeah, struggles. I struggle every day. I'm not perfect by any means. I think biggest struggles is probably working with understanding prioritization, and that has been I've developed that over a really long time. I think I'm relatively good at it now, but I'm still working on it. It's got from it used to be a case of like I was just prioritizing for myself. Okay, what do I work on first? Don't work on the first thing that comes to your head or the first thing that's in front of you. Actually prioritize the list and focus on the top 20%. Take a Pareto principle approach. The top 20% is probably going to be 80% of the value of what you do. Okay, cool. So you figure that out. And then you realize as you kind of progress through your career that your list isn't necessarily the list of other people, particularly people more senior than you. So it's really important to try and understand other people's priorities and how that fits into their priorities. Whether that's people you're working with that you're trying to get, you've got number 1 on your list, could be number 10 on your manager's list, could be number 15 on the product manager's list. And it's if you really want your number one to be higher up their list, you need to prove to them why it needs to be higher up on their list. And so then the second thing I learned is, how do you prove to them why it should be higher? And different people need different things. I've worked with a CEO who he was a historian and he was a voracious reader. And if I'm more of a numbers person, so I would send him Excels and, hey, look, here's the data, and he wouldn't engage with it. Instead, what he wanted was a document, right? He wants it written out, and then you talk to other people, they want a presentation. So you need to understand people's communication style to illustrate the priorities. So that's probably been one of the biggest challenges. And now it's kind of just trying to work out this matrix of the key stakeholders, what their priorities are, and how you can get the priorities on your list higher up their list. And that is, I struggle with that every day, every single day of my life. So that's definitely been a big challenge of mine.
Before we kind of like wrap up, I wanted to say, wanted to ask you, can you give our listeners a word of advice when doubt starts to kick in this world of freelance and navigating your path?
I think a phrase of mine that I like to say is, sometimes you've got to go through the ringer to be a winner. And so it will suck at times, but stay the course. And I think it's really important that, if you set out with a plan and a strong strategy in the first instance, right, and you understood what you were trying to achieve, not making edible socks, but trying to be the best website developer possible, I think you've just got to remember that at some point you will go through a dip. And that's from a book by Seth Godin, I think. And it's like, it will feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but most people kind of give up like near the bottom of that dip. But if you keep going, you'll come out on the other side and you'll start to have success. And like, there's this crazy chart that I've seen which illustrates progression. It's like, we think of progression as like this linear curve. And when you look back, it is like that. It can look like that. But actually, like, Monday, a lot of Mondays are like this. They go down. And then Tuesday's like that. And then maybe Wednesday goes up, and then Friday's like this, and then it go down again. And, but like, it's kind of like wavy up. And so, yeah, you just got to sometimes take a step back and realize, okay, where was I a month ago? Where was I a quarter ago? Where was I 6 months and a year ago? And if you've seen improvement, keep going. If you've been flat, okay, look, maybe it's time to get out. So, they say if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. I believe that to an extent, but at some point, like, look, if you've been trying for 5 years and it's flat, maybe it's worth moving on to something else.
If you don't try, you don't know, isn't it? At the end of the day.
That's it.
You've got to explore the avenues and find your niche, what works for you.
Yes,
and when
absolutely.
you find that, then things just snowball, don't they? And they
sure.
work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say, have you tried anything within your career that's kind of not worked and so you've moved on?
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say, like, I really, really think if I were Prime Minister today, which I'm not, I would have some kind of like, I don't know. I haven't actually formed this properly, so I probably shouldn't say that. But like, I would have something where young people, particularly from the ages of like, you had work experience. I don't know if you did it. Like, I did it around 16. Yeah. And you got to experience like 2 weeks. Some at my like dad's friend's place. But I just it's easier to figure out what you don't like, and I just young people, particularly like from 16 through to like 20 something, like that first part of your career should be just about finding out what you don't like and hopefully finding what you do like. I've tried so many different things. I've been a consultant. I've done marketing. I've done growth. I've done a tiny bit of sales in some of those roles. I founded my own business and I did it when I was really young. Learned a whole bunch. It ultimately failed from an economic perspective, but from a learning perspective, it was great. I placed in the James Dyson Award. I raised some funding. And ultimately, I do think that the business will work. It's just I didn't have the appropriate investment, I believe, in order to make it happen. But I learned so much during that time, and I don't regret anything. And I think it's really important to try as many different things as possible, particularly when you're young and your responsibilities are relatively low, and figure out what you don't like. And now I know what I'm not. I know the type of person I like to work with. I know that the level of micromanagement I'm willing to accept and the level I'm absolutely not willing to accept. So yeah, I think that's of fundamental importance, and I would recommend everybody to try as many things as possible. But yes, at some point you've got to give up if it doesn't work. But that's the whole point. It's like iteration, and eventually you'll find the right thing.
That's it. Oh, wicked.
That's cool. It's never too late to start something.
It's never too late.
So.
It's never too late to try something different.
Yeah.
For sure.
Never.
That's why we do so many different things. We're just like...
Yeah, we have like 5 different jobs each within the freelancing world.
Yeah. What different jobs do you do? What different jobs do you guys do?
I'm an actor, a voice actor, presenter, acting and voice coach, photographer, video editor, audio editor, podcaster.
Wow.
I think that's it. I think that's about it.
You're probably missing 2, but yeah, wow.
Yeah, probably missing a few, but yeah.
You sure you listed all 10?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, incredible.
I work in the film and television industry. I location manage and produce, so I do that on a freelance basis on features, commercials, advertising kind of stuff. And then I'm an actor, voice artist as well, and I run my own production company called Melon and Spud Productions. So we do commercials with that. So lots of things. But yeah, all very like valuable things.
Yeah, very
intertwine in some way, but they're all creative in a respect.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, for sure. And I have so much respect for people who work within the film, TV, production industry. We've only through kind of Fiverr, really, we've done a few different productions, kind of with Stephen Bartlett, with Bukki Adedapo, and I just didn't realize how many people and how much time they would have to spend to create. Like, it's like, we created like 5 minutes worth of content, right? Like for a YouTube ad. And like, it felt like there were 1 million people there on set, and they were there for like, I got there, I turned up late with my cup of coffee. They'd been there since like 6 a.m. and they left
You're
at
one
like,
of them.
Well, I wasn't gonna. I couldn't really help him. What would I do? I'd just be stood there, you know.
It's because he's
But-
the client. You see,
That's
the
it,
client.
the
yeah,
client.
yeah. They keep
Like
saying
walking,
client.
like I've got my little coffee. We've been
Walking.
there since like 4
Yeah,
o'clock
yeah.
in the morning.
Literally, that happens all the
Yeah,
time.
Right, they give me a nice little seat with like some refreshments.
that's
I'm like,
good.
Little video
I'm
village.
living.
Yeah, I know. It's so good. I love
Yeah,
that.
but it really does take a village to have a
Oh, yeah.
To have
a full production.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really does.
100%.
It's
So
really
much
fun.
respect for them. So much
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah,
If you need anything, let us know. We're happy
Oh,
to
for
work
sure.
with you
always
to
available.
For
create
sure.
a commercial.
I'll
whatever you
be
need.
checking out your portfolios because
For
yeah,
sure.
we've got some
Yeah.
productions coming up.
Oh, amazing.
wicked.
Do it. Okay.
Cool.
Before we wrap up,
Yeah.
no, we are wrapping up.
We are wrapping up.
But before we wrap up, kind of, we're going to do a guess game, and we normally do like a would you rather. Would you rather live on a peaceful tropical island or a bustling big city?
Tropical Island.
Would you rather have to start a new job every year until you retire, or only have one job for your entire career?
The first option. Yeah, I'm changing every year.
Would you rather spend your money traveling the world but have a few personal possessions, or have a really amazing house but never leave your hometown?
Travel around the world.
Would you rather have to wear all black every day for the rest of your life, or have to mix every colour of the rainbow into your outfit every day?
I'm in all black right now, and it's slimming apparently, so I'd stick with black.
Good choice.
Would you rather be able to talk with animals or speak every language?
Speak every language. I'm a people person.
Would you rather always be 1 hour late or 1 hour early to everything?
The older I've got, the more respect I have for people who turn up on time, and the less patience I have for people who are late. And like, I would have to be early every time. Yeah, an hour late.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
Terrible.
It's
like you and your coffee.
Exactly. Next time
Sorry?
we're on set, I'll be like, Bukki,
Yeah.
hour late. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you rather be covered head to toe in tattoos or have one big face tattoo?
But if I'm covered head to toe, you said not think. Okay, the face tattoo, the face.
Face. So you'd have one
You
big
face
tattoo.
tattoo.
But the head. But in the other option, I'm also covered, right?
I did write head to toe.
That, you know?
No, do you know what?
That's
Or
actually.
do you mean
stupid.
neck? Do you mean neck down?
Neck to toe.
Neck
Okay.
to toe.
Would you rather be neck to toe in tattoos,
Yeah,
or one big face tattoo?
I'd choose the neck to toe because I can always cover it up for people that don't like it.
Exactly.
That's it. Would you rather have to speak in rhyme for the rest of your life, or riddles for the rest of your life?
I would choose. On the side, I like to make music, and I can't sing, so I rap. So I would choose. Yeah, I would choose to rhyme. There was a program I used to watch as a kid, and like it was the kid in the show, he would rap all the time, and I was like, I want to be like that when I grow up. So yeah, that's what I would do. I'd rap.
Maybe next time when you offer like a strategic plan to business owners, you have to do it in a rap.
I should.
And that's just like,
yeah,
that's in the agreement, the contract.
Yeah,
the whole
that's
time.
it. Yeah.
And then we'll just
you can have like background music. We could be in the background,
Right. Yeah. I'll have you guys. Yeah. To come as
yeah, and we'll have lights. We'll have lights all set up. You know, we'll be like,
insane.
Yeah. We'll be like,
right.
That's about all we can do.
That's all I need.
Yeah,
that's it. We're hyped.
We're booked. We're ready. Would you rather have more time or more money?
In my current state, right now, I would probably choose more money.
Okay.
Cost of living crisis and all of that. Got a kid on the way.
Nice.
Would you rather be a freelancer or PAYE?
Freelancer. Come on now.
Hey, all the way.
And for those listening, we'd love to follow your onward journey. So where can people find you on socials?
I'm on LinkedIn, Bukki Adedapo, and I guess you can find me on Twitter. I don't really use it much, but I'm Bukki there too. I'm going to try and keep it up a little bit. And of course, follow Fiverr. Fiverr's got a much bigger following than me. Much more interesting to follow too. So
Oh, I doubt that.
Wicked. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a great
Thank you for
chat.
having
It
me.
has been great to speak with you. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Not the 9 to 5 podcast. If you liked this episode, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, where we release weekly podcasts every Monday. Comment below to let us know who you'd like to see next on our podcast. Give this video a thumbs up and maybe share it with a freelance friend or two. Until next week, everyone, keep freelancing.